I want to share with you something today about loneliness. So, one of my very good girlfriends, she had suffered from pathological loneliness, and she was experiencing a lot of codependency and struggling with that in her journey. And from a childhood psychological perspective, it has to do with a lot of abandonment issues, neglect abuse, emotional abuse, or any kind of abuse that separates your feeling of love and acceptance from a parent. So that's from that standpoint. So there's many of us that have experienced these kinds of abuse, and or just even experiences where you're just not feeling like you're emotionally in tune with your parents because they're kind of shut out. So that's kind of where loneliness comes from. Then I had a friend yesterday who asked me, Tracy, what's loneliness? What do you think about loneliness? And what I've come to realize in my journey, in my personal growth, kind of spiritual journey, is that loneliness, the root of loneliness, is separation from God. And when I say God, I mean God as this source, God as this power of love that is binding and holding everything together. And it's really our separation in our hearts from that. And we are right there. Like, we are right there to receive it. And there's all of these spiritual teachings that love is right there, and that we are love, and that we are truth. And if we know that, then why is it that we still feel lonely? And why is it that somehow we don't feel it in here? I really think and know that if we don't feel these teachings, if we don't feel them in here, then we don't know it yet in our hearts and in our soul. And until then, it's not in our consciousness. Like, knowing it mentally is just one thing. And you have to, like, that's why we like they're called affirmations and these truths, and we know them, but it doesn't become real to us until we feel them. And how we get there, how do we get to knowing that God and love is with us at all times? How do we get there? And it's really from a process of allowing. See, we're in resistance to feeling God's presence. We're in resistance to this love force there. And it doesn't mean that you have to feel super loving or feel super happy to know that God is there. You just have to feel. That's it. In a space of non-resistance and a space of allowing, because love does not resist and does not judge any negative emotion. Love does not resist and does not judge if you're in pain, if you're sad, if you're angry. Love allows all of that. So if you allow that, those negative feelings, you're right there. That in that space of allowing, you're allowing the presence of God and the presence of love to be there. And in that presence of allowing all these negative emotions, emotional wounds that you're feeling, any trauma that's coming up, anything that's just coming up and waiting to be felt, when you resist any of those feelings that you fear feeling, you resist God's power. You resist His presence. You resist the power of love to be with you and heal you. When we're resistant to all that, we're not clearing ourselves. See, love and feeling love and that connection and that unity with God it's there deep within us. God and love is not out here. It is in here. And sometimes we can't feel that because we have too much blocks in the way. Too much blocks, too much that needs to be cleared. And all of this is emotional. It is emotional baggage, suppression, repression that we just have to allow ourselves to keep feeling and to keep clearing. And with patience, with that presence, the truth of love and the connection to all that there is will be revealed. Because I noticed that when I started my journey and I kept allowing and being in non-resistance and allowing all these emotions to come up one by one, I would feel closer and closer. I used to be talking to God and praying out there. I'd be like, God, please help me. Please help me. And I'd be like, Source, Universe, please help me. And I'd always have to go out there and ask. But then what I realized in my healing journey, in this space of allowing the emotions, all of them to come up, to just be so present. And that's presence. When you're in presence, doesn't mean that you are feeling perfect. Presence is that you can hold that space of allowing in whatever you feel, in whatever you are today, and whatever, like, you don't have, it's like this presence, this kind of love doesn't demand you to be anything. It doesn't demand you to do anything, to accomplish anything. It allows everything. So when you shift into a space of, not in the mind, shift into a space of dropping your guard and allowing those emotions, any of those negative and painful emotions, you are allowing God and you are allowing love to be there, and holding that presence, holding and allowing that space over and over and over again, you will be cleared. The truth of love and connection will be right with you. And this is the journey. The journey is to feel all of that and to be in unity, to be one with the Source, to be one with God, to be one with the universe. And you won't feel lonely anymore. You won't feel lonely.